Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another After Build Report review by yours truly. And as you can see by what's currently up on the turntable in front of you, today's going to be a little bit different. Normally on this channel, I would be reviewing some sort of bipedal humanoid mecha type robot, maybe a Gundam, maybe something from Super Robot Wars, maybe a 30 Minutes Missions, maybe the Mega Man X or the Copy X that I did a while back. But today, we're going to be looking at a model kit from the series Macross Delta, which is the VF-31J Hayate Immelman use. It is eventually going to become a bipedal humanoid mecha, but it starts off, at least in this review, in jet form. Normally we do build, accessories, articulation, final thoughts, but because this thing actually has 3 different modes, we're going to talk about build, and then we're going to talk about each mode individually. So, without any further ado, let's start by talking about the overall build of this model kit. Looking back on my memories of building this kit while I was doing it, the first thing that comes to mind is holy stickers, Batman. Now I understand that there are complexities in trying to make something that's as decorative as a kit like this with all of the different blue and white stripings, the breaks on the wings where the color is, the breaks along the fuselage. And despite the fact that there are a lot of stickers on this kit, I think they did a very good job with what they could. You also get a sheet of water slides that you can use if you don't want to use the stickers. I avoided them and went straight to stickers with this kit, and I think it turned out really well. The only areas that I have problems with are on the head, where you're trying to curve around a lot of molded detail, but I also think they could have made the head a bit more color separated. You look at the real grade line and master grade lines, and those heads are generally pretty color separated. This one, the head of it is just not, and that's a bit of a disappointment. I also feel that the overall build of this kit is very unique. It's very fun. It's not your typical Gundam build, which is what I normally review on this channel, and I think it's worth doing even if you don't like putting on stickers. There are versions of this kit, like some of the VF-25 Messiahs that you can get that don't require nearly as many stickers, so if you want to put one of these together and see what the engineering is like without having to deal with all of that, you do have options. Other than things to note about the build, it's very interesting engineering-wise. It's not like a master grade Gundam, despite being comparable in complexity and time to build. The only major issue I have with this build is they chose a gold plastic to mold some of the connector parts for the feet, and that gold plastic is extremely brittle, like just horribly brittle. Broke as soon as you touch it type brittle. So if you're gonna get one of these, be very careful, but also be aware that the C-clips that go onto the feet that are molded in that gold plastic are more than likely going to break on you, and you're gonna have to glue them in place. So overall, I really enjoyed the build. I thought it was fun. The stickers are a little frustrating to get right, but once you just take your time and get through them, you end up with a very, very nice looking end result. So let's talk about this thing in jet mode. In jet mode, you're not really going to get a lot going on with this other than it just generally looking fantastic. There aren't any extra accessories that you can get with it. There's not a lot of articulation. Yeah, you can kind of move the flaps on the wings a little bit. You can reposition the thrusters on the back, but that's about it. The canopy doesn't really open except for other than coming completely off. There is the antenna that sticks up on the back of the fuselage that you can move very slightly, but again, you're not really going to get much out of this. It's there to look pretty. It does have these fantastic little landing gear that you can stick on. The landing gear do not retract into the kit. They are simply stick on and remove. So when you want it to be in landed mode, you do actually have a parts formation there. This is something you're going to find a way you want to display it, and you're going to just let it sit and be pretty. And to that extent, the jet mode absolutely nails it, especially once you get all the markings on. It just looks gorgeous. So let's talk about Gerwalk mode. So Gerwalk mode is the halfway point between a Valkyrie and a Battroid. The transformation to get there is a little bit unnerving simply because you're pulling and putting pressure on these model kit plastics, which are not always known for being the sturdiest in the world. So there is a little bit of trepidation when going into the transformation of this kit as to whether or not you're actually going to break something. Thankfully, these things are pretty robust. They're not super hollow, so it doesn't feel like you're just going to crush something by grabbing it and pulling on it, but you do have that feeling, or at least I did, where it was like, okay, should I pull this harder? Should I bend this? Can I rotate it? What do I need to do to get this to where it needs to be without breaking it? But thankfully, the process actually was not nearly as bad as it first seemed like it was going to be. You do have more parts formation, especially when you get up into the weapons that go onto the back. Those actually have to be pulled apart and you have to change out the muzzle of one of the shoulder cannons. There are 3 different kinds of hands. You've got your straight out flat hands, which are for when they are folded up into the wings. You've got your widespread expressive hand, and you have a holding hand that can hold either the gun or these nice little folding knives that also go up into the arm panels. Posability wise, you're not going to get much out of this. The legs are rather limited in this mode. They don't have quite as much articulation. They can spread out to the side. They do have that forward bird-like bend, but it's not that great of a bend. The feet aren't really all that posable. Trying to stand this on the ground would probably give somebody nightmares and kind of look a little goofy. It's certainly supposed to be used in aerial poses, and I think it really pulls that off very well. The only downside that I would say that this mode has, and it's not that big of one depending on how you pose it and display it, is that around back where you have the action base attachment looks a little empty. If you, for whatever reason, don't even have the action base attachment there, you just kind of get a big hollow piece where you can see right up into the insides of the fuselage, but it does look rather empty. It's just sort of one of those side effects of being in Gerwalk mode where you've got your engines folding down to be legs, and like a lot of the bulk of the back of the kit suddenly becomes legs. So there you go. It's not fantastic. I'm not sure if I prefer the Gerwalk mode. I don't think I really do. It does look nice, but it's definitely not going to be my preferred way to display this kit. And now let's talk about Battroid mode. I feel like it is pretty obvious when I mess around with Battroid mode that there were some corners that had to be cut in the name of the transformation. The elbows and the arms, for example, are very, very thin. Can't even really hold up the very light rifle weapon that comes with the kit. The joints just definitely aren't tight enough. You can fix that a little bit, but I feel that if you do, you're going to run the risk of making them too tight and cause problems with stressing the pegs while transforming. Now, if you're going to just display this in a single mode and you wanted to be able to hold those weapons, go for it. Just go ahead and set it up the way you want to. But I feel like for casual people who may want to take this off the shelf, switch it into another mode and put it back, tightening those joints is going to be a very risky proposition. There are a few fragile places. The antenna up on the head, I think, is a little fragile. Definitely that gold plastic that's down in the feet, which you can barely ever see, so I don't even know why they decided to make those C-clips out of the gold. So yes, there are some issues with this Battroid mode. Again, posability was sacrificed a little bit. You don't have great articulation through the legs, the hips, and the knees. You don't have great articulation in the arms. The head is sunken into the chest a bit, so you're not going to get a lot of articulation out of the chest. What you do get, however, is a very, very solid Battroid mode. Again, I wish the arms had been a little bit tighter in their joints, but I think overall it works. So what are my final thoughts on this? Well, I honestly think that everybody who is building Gundams, or anything that is something that's a repeated task over and over again, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the builds that people do are going to be basically the same at the end of the day. You build 2 legs, you build 2 feet, you build 2 arms, you put them together on a torso with some hips and a head and some weapons, and you're done. That can get a little bit boring. So I think people who are thinking to themselves, hey, I need a bit of a change, I need something that's going to challenge me, or it's not going to look like the same thing that I've always done, should definitely give this a chance. This is a fantastic model kit from top to bottom. It's not your average everyday mecha kit. It is phenomenal. Yes, it's sticker heavy. Yes, it looks bad without the stickers, in my opinion. You do need to put those on to really give it that pop and that flair. To give you an idea of exactly how much I like this build, I am looking forward to the VF-25S Super Messiah that I have coming in. I am probably going to end up ordering the VF-31J so that I can put the super armor parts that I have onto that. I really just overall like this thing. It's solid. It's fun. It's gonna get 6 min-mays out of 8. The only problems I have with it are those arms. The joints just aren't tight enough. I could go on about the articulation and, you know, where I think it's lacking in this or that, and I could, but I'm not going to because I understand there have to be sacrifices in order to get a model kit with the engineering needed to go from a fantastic looking jet mode to a fantastic looking mecha mode with an okay half step in between. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Everybody out there, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment down in the comment section. Go pick yourself up one of these if you feel like it is something that you might enjoy. And above all, keep building.